This PPT has been prepared by referring many sources, which includes videos, diagrams from the internet, and this PPT is exclusively used for the purpose of education only. Welcome to the module 5. In this module, we will discuss about costing, estimation, depreciation, and taxation. This is the first part in this module. In this module, we will discuss about costing. Costing is defined as the process of determining actual cost of an item after adding different expenses incurred to bring it to the final form and make it ready for marketing. So, costing involves the entire process of calculating the total cost involved in manufacturing a particular product before it goes to the market. So to this cost we will add the required profit and make it the selling price. So what are the major aims and objective of the costing? To calculate the cost of a product or an article, it could be a single part or the total assembly of the entire product. The next objective is to determine the cost involved in each operation a product that undergoes. Uh, when we want to manufacture a product, it undergoes several operations. So what we do is that we break that into several operations and what is the cost involved in those individual operations and go on adding one after the other so that the total cost for the entire product is calculated. It to give the essential inputs to determine the selling price of a product. So this is the most important part for a marketable product. So what is the total price at which I can sell the product in the market? So calculating the cost plays a very vital and critical role because cost is under the control of a manufacturer. Price is not under the control of a manufacturer. Price is dictated by the customer, whereas cost can be controlled by the manufacturer. So hence calculating the cost and controlling the cost makes it very important for any manufacturer before the product is sent to the market. To keep a tab on wastages and control over the workers' wages. As I was just telling you, we cannot have a control over the price. Customers will decide the price. That is the recent trend now. Nowadays, manufacturer cannot ask the customer to pay this much price for the product. Customers will decide, I can pay only this much price. Are you ready to give this product at this price or not? So manufacturer, if he wants to survive in the market, they have to sell the product at that price only. Then how can he control the reduce the wastages? That makes a very important and key role in calculating the total cost. So we have to reduce the waste and control the workers wages. If we give them very less wage, the factory may have to be shut down. If we give them too much of wage, then the expenses could be high. Then I cannot control the total expenditure. So that's why we have to think about these two things. To reduce the total manufacturing cost, that is the ultimate aim. To make the product more economical by incorporating suitable changes in design etc. Like if a Japanese follow a very unique system called as SMED, single minute exchange dice. Uh, they try to reduce the setup time because more time they take, the later will be the entry to market. That's why in order to reach the market as early as possible, in order to reduce the tack time, TAKT, tack time, it is very, very important to reduce the setup time and the wastage of any such time. So that's why necessary changes in the design, like design of dice, or exchanging them, changing them very fast, they play a very important role in making the product making the product reach the market as early as possible. To help in formulating the policies of the concerned for changing the prices of the product. So, costing also plays a very key role in deciding about the policies that will dictate the setting up of prices. What is the costing procedure? The general procedure involves the collecting the necessary information about the actual expenses incurred in various department on different items. This is normally done by the costing department. They meet people of various department like see design, production, dispatch, packing, purchase, and they try to collect the information about how much expenditure is being done at each department to roll out that particular article, and then they go on adding the cost. Then the expenses are sorted out under the normally these three headings. First one is the direct material cost, next one is the direct labor cost, and the factory overheads. DMC, that is direct material cost, DLC, direct labor cost, and OH are the overheads. In addition to factory overheads, we also need to calculate the administrative overheads. Administrative overheads are related to office work. Factory overheads are related to factory work. Normally, direct material cost, direct labor cost, and overheads. These are the three major headings. Under overheads, again we have three different subheadings. First one is the factory overheads, that is the extra expenditure that occurs at the factory or the place of manufacturing. Second one is the administrative overheads which occur at the office, which is not directly linked to the product but is necessary to roll out the product. And the last one is selling overheads. Again, this is not directly linked to the manufacturing section, but without selling department or sales department, it's almost impossible for any manufacturing firm to sell a product at the market. So these are the five categories under which the expenses are sorted out. Next, the components of cost. What are the different components of cost? Let us see one by one. The total cost of a product manufactured is divided into three elements in general. That's what I was just telling. Materials, labor, and the expenses. Okay. So these are the three broad categories. Let us discuss how the material costs are made up. Again, there are different categories under materials. First one is the direct material cost. Direct material costs are the materials which undergo different operations being brought to the final required shape. So for example, I purchase a MS rod. I purchase an MS rod and I take it to the manufacturing section. I take it to the exact equipment where it gets changed into the shape uh, which is required to be sold in the market. Say for example, bolt and nut. We take the raw material in the form of a rod. Then we take it to the forging section to prepare the head of the required shape. Okay, and then we bring it to the turning section to turn the shank to the uniform shape, then do the proper threading on it. Similarly, nut is also taken to the forging section first. The proper shape is done, and then the tapping is done at the lathe section or the turning section. So this particular MS rod, which was the raw material, got converted into a bolt and nut by undergoing various operations before it goes to the market. So this is the direct material cost. Next is the indirect material cost. What are these indirect material costs? See, for example, I need tools. I need a SPT, or I need a drill bit, or I need a forging hammer, I need coolants for that, lubricants, etc. They are not directly involved in the bolt and nut, but without them I cannot prepare a bolt and nut. They do not make a part of the bolt and nut, but they are very much necessary in order to realize the bolt and nut. That's why they are called as indirect material cost. Next is how do I calculate the material cost? But to calculate the total material cost, the first stage is to calculate the volume of each component. See, for example, I have a turning center. Turning center will be made up of, say, different sections. One of the section could be in the shape of a cylinder. Another section could be in the shape of a cone. Another section could be in the shape of a frustum of a cone. Some of the parts of the lathe could be in the form of a pyramid. Like that, I divide a particular part into various components, calculate the volume of each component, and finally I get the total volume of that particular part. Then once I calculate the total volume of that particular part by adding the volumes of all the components, I determine the weight of the material by applying the formula weight is equal to density into volume. Okay, I have already calculated the volume. Density of that material is available in the data handbook. So I can get the total mass or the weight of the entire part. Once I get the total weight of that particular normally I purchase a material. The rate of the material is always told in terms of per kg. So I can get the per kg cost of that particular material, multiply the total weight of that part by the per kg cost, so that I can get the total cost of the material. That's how I can calculate CI into W, where CI is the cost of one unit weight or the unit mass multiplied by the total mass of that particular part, which was calculated by using the formula density into volume. This is how I calculate the direct material cost. Then comes the labor. Again, under labor I have two different types. First one is the direct labor. Direct labor are those laborers who are directly involved in manufacturing that particular part. See, for example, if forging man will actually do the forging work to prepare the head of a bolt or the nut, he is directly involved in that. He is directly giving shape to that particular part. A turner, He is actually turning that part to give shape. A welder, he is actually welding and trying to give shape to the final part. An assembler, he is actually assembling one part into the another part so that the final product can come out. So this is how a direct labor is calculated. The nature of their job is such that their wages may be directly related to the job that they are manufacturing. It includes workers operating various production machines. That's what I just explained to you now. Next comes the indirect labor. The indirect labor, they are not directly involved in manufacturing that particular part. Then who are they? See, for example, a person who brings the raw material to the person who is trying to prepare a bolt and nut. He brings the raw material in a trolley, drives a trolley and bring it to the forging section. Did he directly turn that bolt head? No, he did not. He did not involve himself in preparing the head of the bolt. What did he do? He just helped the forger or the foreman to prepare that particular part. Did he really turn the part? No, he did not do the turning. Did he really do the welding? No, he did not do the welding. But what did he do? He helped them. Suppose there could be a person who helps the this turner to get the tools and other things. They are not direct labors. They are all indirect labors. Foreman, supervisor, a storekeeper, a crane operator. Similarly, in medical line also we can see that a doctor actually does the operation, but he will be supported by so many other nurses and ward boys who will be assisting the doctor in getting the proper tool, monitoring the heartbeat rate, supply of the oxygen. They are not conducting any operation, but they are assisting him. Can a doctor alone conduct the operation without the assistance of these people? It's very difficult. Similarly, indirect labors are very much necessary in any industrial setup. We cannot neglect their role. The importance of indirect labor is as same as that of the direct labor. Maybe their skills are not to the required extent of the direct labor, but we cannot underestimate their importance in an industrial setup. Next is the calculation of direct labor cost. How do I calculate the direct labor cost? To calculate the direct labor cost, the following factors must be considered. See, operations to be carried out to bring the raw material into a final shape. Which are the various operations that are carried out to bring the raw material to the final shape? That is the first thing. Second thing is the types of the tools required, which are the tools necessary, types of the machines necessary. Then the calculation of the direct labor cost begins by identifying the operations, the tools and the machines. Then I start the process of calculation of the direct labor cost. In addition to this above information, the estimator or the person who calculates the DLC should also consult the production department to know the estimated time for each operation. That's what we term it as the standard time. Okay, ST, standard time. How do I arrive at that particular standard time? First one is the setup time. I have to include setup time. What is that setup time? It is the time required to set and fix the tools and jobs on the machine. It is dependent on what? It is dependent on the number of jobs produced. See, in one setup, I can produce say 100 jobs. If I want to do one more operation on the same part, can I continue in the same setup? If not, I have to change the setup. Again I have to dismantle this tool, dismantle the part, add one more tool to that, which will take time. That's what I was just explaining you. Japanese use the concept of SMED, single minute exchange dice, without changing the entire setup. By changing the minor tool setup, they they try to combine various operations. They try to combine various operations in this single setup. Thereby, they reduce the setup time. Next is the operation time. It is the time required to carry out this specific operation, normally termed as the floor time or cutting time, and another also generally used term is operation time. It is the total machine handling time or the machining time uh, during which the part or the article changes its shape into some other shape. Next comes the tear down time. It is the time considered from the moment the last operation has been completed. Tear down time means, say I completed one operation, dismantle the part, dismantle the tools, attach another tool, another the same part to the setup again. So that total time from the moment the last operation completed is called as the tear down time. Next is the miscellaneous allowances. In addition to all these things, I have to add certain allowances to this standard time. What are those allowances? Personal allowance. What are those personal allowance? We are all human beings. We cannot work continuously. We may have to go to drink water. We may have to go to lavatories to answer nature calls. We may have to go for hand washing. We may have to maybe may start getting minor diseases like headaches and other things. We may have to go for to take our lunch, breakfast, snacks in time. In these are all the personal allowances, and it's about 5% of the total working time. After adding the operation time, setting time, tear down time, and these things, I go on adding additional time in the form of personal allowance. So if I arrive at say 10 minutes are required for the setup, operation, and the tear down time, I add 5% of 10 minutes. Okay, around say 5% of means 30 seconds to that. So it becomes 10 minutes, 10 and a half minutes now. Then to that again I add fatigue allowance. Again, as I said, we are all human beings. We get fatigue. We cannot work continuously. So I may have to take rest at some time. So that's why some breaks are given, mandatory breaks are given, during which time we have to go and take rest in order to re-equip our body to continue the same kind of work at the same efficiency level. So that comes out to be around 5% of the total time. So 5% as the personal allowance, 5% as the fatigue allowance, total 10%. Then comes the tool changing and grinding allowances. So I cannot go on taking the time as per my convenience to change the tool. There is again a standard value for that, normally 5 to 10% of the total time. So that is 5% for personal, 5% for fatigue, and around 10% for the tool changing time. Then measurement and checking allowance. Once I turn the uh, part, can I pass it on to the next stage without checking it? No, I have to measure it, check it, and that comes out to be around 2 to 3%. So these are all quite common. That means 5 plus 5 plus 10 plus 3. around 23 to 25% of the total time is added to the uh, working time. Setup time plus teardown time plus operation time. As an example, I was explaining, if 10 minutes are necessary for these three, around 25% of 10 minutes means another 2.5 minutes are added towards the standard time. So what is the actual time now? It is not just 10 minutes, it is 12.5 minutes now. In addition to all these things, I also add other allowances. What are those other allowances, Baba? See, there could be periodic cleaning, oiling, maintenance, procuring the inventory, delivering the jobs, disposing the scraps, surplus stocks. All those things are necessary. They are all added to the actual working time. That comes out to be around 15 to 20%. So combining all these things, 40%, 40 to 50% of the time are added as allowances, and they are all necessary. Can I reduce them? You may reduce them, but labor law will not permit you. As per the International Labour Organization, these allowances have to be given for the workers, and before you calculate this standard time, you have to add the allowances as per the recommendations of ILO, International Labour Organization, which is at Geneva. So these are all mandatory things. You cannot do away with them. You have to add them. So it comes out to be around 15 minutes now. 14 to 50 minutes. Even though actual working time is just about 10 minutes, the standard time comes out to be 14 to 15 minutes. Next is the expenses. What are these expenses? Till now we discussed about direct material, indirect material cost, direct labor and indirect labor cost, and now the expenses. What are these expenses? These are the expenditure that are apart from these two categories, material and labor. If I cannot categorize any of the other expenditure under either material cost or under labor cost, I categorize them under expenses. What are these expenses? See, it includes building rent, depreciation charges of the plant and factory, administrative expenses, selling and distribution expenses, etc. Direct expenses. These are the directly charged to a particular job and are incurred for that particular job only. For example, see, special attachments, patterns, experiments on a job or machine. They are directly linked to that particular job alone. They are direct expenses. They are additional, of course, but they are direct expenses. Then the next category is indirect expenses. This is a huge list. Indirect expenses, they form a very huge list. What are they? See, factory expenses, termed as factory overheads or factory on cost. These are the normally three differently used terminologies: expenses, on cost, overheads. So if those things or additional expenses are done in the factory, then they are called as factory expenses. Like this could be something like, see, factory rent, factory lighting, insurance of plant and factory, consumables stored in the factory like cotton waste, grease, etc., wages paid to the indirect workers like gangmen, foremen, watchmen, etc. Then comes works canteen and welfare expenses. You have a canteen exclusively for the factory people. Some of the industries will have two canteens, one for the office people and one for the factory people. So if there is a separate canteen for workmen, then that expenses will be under indirect expenses. Water, power and fuel expenses held in the factory, telephone bill, stationery consumed in the factory, transportation charges for bringing the materials from the stores, cost of the material which cannot be directly charged. Next comes the administrative expenses. The above 10 are the indirect expenses that occur in the factory premises, factory area. Okay. Next category is administrative expenses. What are these administrative expenses? They are not a part of the factory. Some of the industries may have a small office within the factory premises itself, but some of the large industries will have a separate administrative block. For example, see Toyota, all PSUs like BEML, BEL, BHEL, ONGC, and even large scale industries like power plants. They all will have a separate administrative block, right? uh, the expenses that occur in the area of the administrative block, premises of the administrative block, they are categorized as administrative expenses. What they could be? See, for example, salaries paid to the executives like general managers, financial manager, CEO, director, secretary, staff who are in the office. Director is not a part of the factory. We have to remember that. CEO is not a part of the factory. General managers are not the part of the factory. They are all officials. Their salary, their expenses are considered under administrative expenses or administrative overheads or administrative on cost. It's also termed as office on cost or office overheads. Next is lighting and power charges of the office. Next is office rent, repair and depreciation charges of the office. Next is insurance of the office building and the depreciation charges. I will have the depreciation for the factory under factory overheads, insurance of the office building under administrative or office overheads. Legal expenses. Legal experts are very much necessary. Chartered accountants, they are very much necessary in order to help us in legal matters and financial matters. Their expenses will come under office overheads because they are not part of the factory. Banking and auditing expenses, that's what I was just telling you. Telephone, telegraph and postal charges, they are very much under a part of the office work because I may have to send telegrams, I may have to send post. Telegrams are not at all necessary now because the technology has changed. I may have to do emails. For that I may have to keep a secretary. I may have to send sometimes I may have to do fax. In spite of all the advances in the technology, postages are still there. I may have to send them by post because that is the most authenticated document. Mail, phone, they are not very much authenticated because anybody can have access to that, whereas post is regarded as the most authenticated document. Even if I do all these things for my documentation purpose, I expect the customer or the supplier to send a postal letter either by requesting or as the as a proof of supply of material. Printing and stationery at the office. These 8 categories make various parts of the administrative overheads or office overheads or office expenses, administrative expenses. The last category is selling expenses. What are these selling expenses? Apart from the factory overheads and the office overheads, sales department has gained a separate importance nowadays. That's why the expenses at the sales department are termed as selling expenses. They comprise of salaries to sales manager, sales staff, salesmen, etc. they are not part of office now. General manager operations, he is a part of the factory. General manager finance, he is a part of office. General manager sales, he is a part of selling expenses. Like that. Director, above all these fellow, he is a part of office. CEO, above all these fellow, part of office. Okay. So when we categorize them as general manager sales, operations, finance, we put them under selling expenses, factory expenses, and office expenses respectively. Traveling expenses and the commission that we pay for the salesman. Advertising expenses, they are part of the selling expenses. We spend huge amount. Many companies spend nearly 30 to 40% on advertisements. Their for nearly 40% of the total cost is dedicated towards the advertisement, and that's why the selling price will shoot up. And many of the companies, in order to uh, have a competitive price, they try to keep this advertisement cost lower so that they can reduce the expenditure, so that the benefit could be passed on to the customers. Okay. But without rigorous advertisement and branding, what happens is that customers may not believe that product. So for that, normally companies or the manufacturers or OEMs, they indulge in heavy advertisements, because customers, when they see the advertisements either on television or in the social media, they feel that, this advertisement I have seen, yeah, I think this is a very good brand, I have seen lots of advertisement of this. When I see Byju's advertisements, I have seen Byju's, it comes very often, I think it's a good organization. Whereas one more organization which is really doing wonderful, I may not prefer that, because there is no proper advertisement of that. So that is the reason why organizations indulge in advertising expenses. Showroom expenses. Without showroom, how can I sell the product to the customer? So showrooms must be there, very attractive, glamorous. Showrooms will attract the customers, and if it is very dull and pale, who will go there if it is like a workshop? So you have to attract the customers with a five-star look. So customers will feel, look at that building, it's so fantastic, and how fantastic must be the product. If the building itself is so attractive, the product must also be very attractive. At least they will get into your showroom. Once you go into the showroom, the salesman will catch hold of you. And of course, the present days customers are smart enough to decide whether to purchase that product or not. But these are all very much necessary in order to make our product being sold in the market. Continuing our expenses, printing of price list, catalogs. I may have to prepare catalogs and supply it to various customers, various blocks. Packing and carriage charges. I may have to pack the product what the customers are purchasing properly. If I do not pack it properly, it may damage by the time it reaches them. Insurance on finished goods, showrooms, goods in transit and warehouse. These are all the things. In addition to that, expenses on the delivery van, operations, maintenance, repairs, depreciation, they are also part of the selling overheads. And the entertainment expenses, telephone and postal expenditure of sales. I may have to put some big TV screens for the customers who are waiting in the showroom. I may have to give a dormitory for the person who is transporting the products. So these are all the additional expenses for me. and rebate to the customers. May have to give them discounts. If I do not give discounts, customers are not happy, so they will directly question the salesman. That company is giving 10% discount, you are giving only 2% discount, and why can't you give 10% or even more than that? Why should I purchase your product only? These are the various questions the customers ask, and that's why rebate or the discount is also given, is also a part of the selling overheads. Legal charges during the debt recovery. Sometimes people purchase the bikes, cars on loan, and they fail to pay the loan. Under that circumstances, legal help may have to be taken, and I may have to pay the legal charges for that. In addition to these overheads, there could also be some indirect expenses which remain constant irrespective of the volume of production. They do not vary. For example, if I produce more, I may have to pay, the tooling cost may increase, the lubricants cost may increase. If I get more customers, the selling overheads may increase. But these are some of the overheads which do not increase, like see, salaries of officers, engineers, supervisors, they are fixed, they won't change. Depreciation of machine and equipment, they also normally remain constant. uh, Interest on the capital invested, since I have already invested, whatever I pay, that will remain same. And rent on the building and insurance, whether I use it for 1 month or 1 year, I have to pay the rent for the entire month and or the entire year. Variable overheads, these vary with the volume of the production. See, for example, power or fuel consumed. More time I run a machine, more electricity charges. Repairs and maintenance, consumable store supplies, expense on tools which are to be purchased very frequently. If I turn more, the tool will be indulged into wear and tear more. Then I may have to use more number of tools. So that will shoot up the variable overheads. After calculating all these above overheads, I finally arrive at the selling price. Let me start from the bottommost level. What do I have at the bottommost level? First, I have the direct expenses. Next, I have the direct labor. Next, I have the direct material. So, direct material, direct labor, and the direct expenses. These three add up to make what? To make prime cost. Okay, prime cost is equal to direct material cost plus direct labor cost plus direct expenses. First stage in calculating the selling price of a product is the calculation of the prime cost. Then what do? I add factory expenses, prime cost plus factory expenses. These two add up to make factory cost. Prime cost is given by direct material cost plus direct labor cost plus direct expenses. These three add up to make prime cost. Prime cost added up with factory expenses or factory overheads or factory on cost, all are one and the same. We get factory cost. Factory cost added with administrative expenses or office expenses or office overheads or office on cost, they're all one and the same terminology. They make up office cost. Office cost added with selling overheads or selling expenses or selling on cost, we get total cost. This total cost will be added with profit to make up the selling price. So if I am selling the product at a price lesser than the total cost, then I will be indulging loss. If I am selling a product at a price more than the total cost, then I am ending up with profit. This is how the selling price of a product is made up. This is very important block diagram which is normally asked in the examination. See, same thing has been explained in this slide. Whatever we discussed till now, those things are explained in this slide in the form of equations. So all these 5 equations must be remembered very clearly. And if a question is asked on this, you have to write that block diagram and these equations, and you will be evaluated for 8 marks. Next is the allocation of overheads. How do I allocate the overheads? Uh, there are 3 methods. A percentage of the prime cost. This is given by total overheads divided by prime cost into 100. Next is a percentage on the direct material cost. This is given by total overheads divided by DMC. And last one is the percentage on DLC, that is total overheads divided by direct labor cost into 100. These are the 3 different methods of allocation of overheads. Normally in a problem it would be given. If it is not given, we may have to calculate using this formula. In addition to those 3 methods, we also have a man hour rate. Man hour rate is given by total overheads divided by total direct man hour spent. Direct man hour spent in the sense this is the total hour a worker spends directly on the product or the part, that is direct man hour. And the machine hour rate total overheads divided by the total productive machine hours. It doesn't include the cleaning time, maintenance time and all those things. It's only the productive machine time, means for which time the machine was really on or up. And the last one is unit rate method. This is overheads per unit is given by total overheads divided by the quantity of production. Till now we discussed about various steps to arrive at the selling price of a product. What are the different objectives of the costing, how costing is done, what are the various uh, categories of cost, how costs are added up, what are all the various parameters I need to consider in order to calculate the cost of a particular part, what are the different stages of arriving at a selling price. All those things have been discussed till now. Now let us get into the numericals and solve few problems so that we can understand where these concepts are exactly applicable. Okay, a small firm in Ahmedabad is producing 10,000 pens per day. The cost of direct material is 1 lakh 60,000 rupees, and that of the direct labor is rupees 2 lakh. Factory overheads are chargeable at the rate of say rupees 2 lakh 50,000. If the selling on cost is 40% of the factory cost, what must be the selling price of each pen to realize a profit of 20% of the selling price? This is the problem. So whenever a costing problem is given, our first step is to calculate the prime cost. So first step is prime cost, next step is factory cost, next step is office cost, next step is total cost, and then the selling price. That is the levels which we have to go one after the other. So we will follow the same procedure here. Pens manufactured per day is 10,000, and let the selling price is not given. That's what we need to calculate. Let that selling price be say SP. and the direct material cost is given by 1,60,000, direct labor cost is given by rupees 2 lakh, and the factory overheads chargeable to it are given by 2,50,000. So as a first step, what we need to do, let us calculate the prime cost. What is prime cost? It is given by direct material cost plus direct labor cost plus direct expenses. Since direct expenses are not given in this problem, we will neglect that. If direct expenses were given, we would have considered that. In this example, it is not given. Leave it as blank. So prime cost is given by 1,60,000 plus 2 lakhs, that is equal to 3,60,000. So what is next step? Next after prime cost comes the factory cost. So to this prime cost, we will add the factory cost, factory overheads I mean to say. Factory cost is given by prime cost plus factory overheads. Factory overheads are also termed as factory on cost or factory expenses. Okay, so when I add prime cost and factory overheads, 3,60,000 plus factory overheads are given by 2,50,000, that's already directly given. So add them, it comes out to be 6,10,000. Once I add these two things, the next stage is after factory cost, it is office cost. Okay, if office to get that office cost, what should I do? I should add the office overheads. Since in this problem office overheads are not given, assume it as 0. Then go to next level. What is the next level? uh, Total cost. How do I get the total cost? Total cost is obtained by office cost plus selling on cost or selling overheads. So here factory cost itself will become the office cost, since office overheads are not separately given. So to this factory cost, I add the selling on cost. How much is it given? It is given as the 40% of the factory cost. It is not given directly as factory overheads, which was 2,50,000. It is given as 40% of the factory cost. So unless or otherwise my factory cost is correct, selling on cost cannot be correct. So it is 40% of the factory cost. If it is 40%, how much is that? It is for 6,10,000 plus 40% of 6,10,000, that comes out to be 2,44,000, and the total cost is 8,54,000. So this is the total cost of the 10,000 pens. Okay, now to this I have to add the profit. What is the profit? Profit is 20% of the selling price. So profit is given as 20% of the selling price. Let me make it as a 0.2 SP. So total cost is given by selling price plus or minus profit or loss, that's what we say. So selling price is given by profit plus total cost. Total cost can be calculated as selling price minus profit. So selling price is not known to me, whereas total cost is known to me. That's why total cost will be pushed to left hand side. So selling price minus profit, both are unknown. I will keep it on the right hand side. SP minus 0.2 SP, that is equal to 0.8 SP. So let me substitute the values now. When I substitute the values, it becomes 8,54,000 divided by 0.8, and hence the selling price comes out to be 10,67,500. For how many pens? For 10,000 pens, not for one pen. Okay, this therefore selling price for one pen is 10,67,500 divided by 10,000, that comes out to be 106 rupees 75 paise, or approximately you can fix it as 107 rupees. Okay, this is how normally the price of a product is set up. This is one simple example. Let us take this second example. The market price of a drilling machine is rupees 50,000. It has a discount to be allowed to the distributor at rupees 20% of the market price. See, if you purchase a drilling machine directly from the factory, you will be given a discount of 20% of the market price. The selling expenses are 1/4 of the factory cost. It's not directly given. If the material cost, labor cost and the factory overheads are in the ratio of 1:4:2, that is also not directly given. It's given in terms of ratio. What profit is made by the factory on each drilling machine if the material cost is rupees 4,000? Other overheads may be neglected. Okay, we know that the material, I mean to say, the market price of a drilling machine is 50,000. What is the discount allowed? Discount allowed is 20% of the market price. That means 20% of 50,000, which comes out to be 10,000. So if I purchase a drilling machine from the factory, I will be getting that drilling machine at 40,000 rupees. So the factory will get only 40,000 rupees because it is giving a discount of 10,000 rupees on each purchase. So selling price from the factory is 40,000. We know that the ratio of the material cost, labor cost and the factory overheads are 1:4:2. Let us calculate one by one. I know that the total material cost is rupees 4,000. Therefore, the labor cost is it's in the ratio 1:4:2. So labor cost must be 4 times the material cost. 1 is for material, 4 is for labor and 2 is for factory overheads. And hence I can make it as 4 into 4,000, that comes out to be 16,000, and factory overheads come out to be 2 into 4,000, that is 8,000. So again I will start with the prime cost. Prime cost is equal to DMC plus DLC plus DE. Direct expenses are not there, neglected. So prime cost comes out to be 20,000 rupees. Then next level is the factory cost. Factory cost is prime cost plus factory overheads. Factory overheads are also calculated 8,000 rupees. So 20,000 plus 8,000, total 28,000. Next stage is office cost. In this case also office overheads are not given. Directly selling overheads are given. So factory cost itself will become office cost. And to that we will add the selling expenses. Selling expenses are given as 25%, or how much is given? Yeah, 25% of the 1/4. It's given as the 1/4 of the factory cost. Yeah, it is here 1/4 of the factory cost. So 1/4 means 25%. So we will calculate it. It comes out to be 7,000. Add that and it will be total 35,000. So now the actual price of the drilling machine is 50,000. In order to boost sales, they sold it at 40,000. That is at 10% discount. In spite of all these things, they could get 40,000 rupees, and the total cost involved is 35,000. So what is the profit made on each drilling machine? The profit made on each drilling machine is only rupees 5,000. Why it is only 5,000? Because they had already given a discount of 10,000. That much is already loss for the factory. Instead of calling it as a loss, we would like to use the term reduced profit. It could have been 15,000, but the reduced profit is only 5,000 because of the discount allowed on each machine. Let us come to the third problem. The output of an electric bulb factory is 4,000 bulbs per month. Its variable cost is rupees 5 per bulb, and the fixed overheads are rupees 6 lakhs per month. The selling price is rupees 15 per bulb. Work out the monthly production which may not cause any loss to the owner. That means break even. At what production quantity the company will be breaking even. That is the question asked. Let is the minimum production of the factory be P units, because that's what I need to calculate. Variable cost is given as rupees 5 per bulb, and the fixed overheads are given as rupees 6 lakhs per month. So total cost is given by total variable cost plus fixed overheads. That is the normal formula, variable cost plus fixed cost. So that comes out to be 5 into P plus 6 lakh rupees. Now let me I need to calculate the total cost. But I know the selling price. I know the selling price, that is 50 rupees 15 per bulb. Total selling price should be what? 15 per bulb into number of bulbs sold. Okay, so that is 15 into P. If there is no profit or loss, what does that mean? Total cost must be equal to total selling price. Correct? So if there is no profit or no loss, means I am selling the bulb at the same rate which has costed me. That means if it costs me some X rupees, I will be selling that at X rupees only, without taking any profit or without incurring any loss. So that's why total cost should be equal to total selling price. Now let me substitute the values here. So total cost I already have calculated here. Total cost is given by 5 star P plus 6 lakh rupees. Okay, that is already given. And then total selling price is also given here, rupees 15 into P. Total selling price is given by 15 into P. Substitute those values and solve for P. So we get 10 into P is equal to 6 lakh rupees, or P is equal to 60,000 bulbs. I need to produce at least 60,000 bulbs in order to break even. Till 60,000, if I do not produce 60,000, so then I will be under loss. If I produce more than 60,000 bulbs, then I will be under profit. This is another type of problem which may come in this module. So the factory will be under either loss or profit at 60,000 bulbs. Let us go to next type of problem. See, sometimes a list of items will be given like this. See, for example, in this case, a manufacturer firm which manufactures turret machine has the following expenditures, like the material consumed, factory wages, director fees, advertisements, net profit. So many items are given here. Now what is my requirement? Requirement is to calculate the selling price. I have to calculate the selling price. How do I calculate the selling price? Procedure is the same. First calculate the prime cost, then the factory cost, then the office cost, then the total cost, and finally add profit to that and get the selling price. The procedure will not vary, but till now we have discussed problems wherein the values were directly given. Here values are not directly given, listing is given. From the list I have to identify whether that particular item belongs to factory overheads or selling overheads or administrative overheads or direct material cost or direct labor cost, and then I have to start my work towards calculating the selling price. So as a first step, we will categorize them under various headings. Material consumed. What is that? Material consumed, it's direct material cost. Categorize that as direct material cost. Next, factory wages. Factory wages, that means I am giving wages to the factory people. So that will come under factory overheads. Okay. Directors fees. Directors fees, it will come under office overheads or administrative overheads. I had explained earlier also. Next is advertisement. Where do we give that? Normally it is required for the salesperson, so it's a part of selling overhead. Net profit, we will consider that at the end and it becomes a part of the selling price. Depreciation on the sales department cost. Sales department is there, so it's a part of selling overheads. Printing and stationery. Normally, where do we do more printing and stationery? We do more printing and stationery at the office, not at the factory. So, printing and stationery, let it be a part of office overheads. Depreciation on plant. Plant means what? It's a factory is also termed as plant. So depreciation on plant, depreciation on factory, they are one and the same. So that has to be a part of factory overheads. Next is direct wages. Here it is direct labor cost. That is the difference between factory wages and direct wages. Direct wages are paid to the people who are directly involved in the work. But there are many other people in the factory indirectly involved. They all make under or they are all considered under factory wages. Those who are directly involved in the manufacturing of the part are considered under direct wages. Factory rent, of course, it is related to factory overheads. Telephone and postage expenses. Where do we use the telephones and postages normally? At the office. So let that be a part of the office overheads. Gas and electricity. Where electricity and gas power is predominantly used. Normally we use it predominantly at the factory, not at the office. Of course, electricity is required, power is necessary for the office. I do not say it is not necessary, but predominantly where do we use? We predominantly use it at the factory. That's why it is categorized under factory overheads. Next comes office salaries. Office salaries, of course, it's office overheads. Office rents, so no confusion, office overheads or administrative overheads. Showroom rent, it is required for the salesman, selling overheads. Salesman's commission, again no confusion, selling overheads. Finally, sales department car expenses. So it is required for the sales department, so selling overheads. Now we will calculate one by one. Prime cost is given by DMC plus DLC plus DE. DE are not there. So wherever you have mentioned it as DMC DLC, go on adding them. That comes out to be 55,000 plus 65,000, 1,20,000. Then factory cost is given by prime cost plus factory overheads. Wherever you marked FOH, go on adding all of them. That's why whenever you get a problem like this, it is very important for you to categorize them like this. Without categorizing them, don't venture into solving such problems. You will be under confusion, and there are chances that you may commit mistake. Such simple problems which you can score out, you will not get any marks, you will get 0 because of some silly mistakes. Don't do that. First mark whether it belongs to DLC or DMC or FOH or AOH or SOH, and then go on adding them. That is the easiest way. So now factory cost, you added all these things which were marked FOH, and it came out to be 1,39,000. Then to this I will add administrative overheads or office overheads. Wherever you have marked OOH or AOH, add them all to this 1,39,000. It comes out to be 1,45,000. To this add SOH, that makes up total cost. Wherever you have already marked SOH, go on adding them. That comes out to be 1,71,750 rupees. To this you add the profit, which was 12,500 rupees. That comes out to be total selling price, 1,84,250 rupees. So the above calculations has helped me to arrive at the total selling price of the turret machine as 1,84,250 rupees. This is how you need to do. Again, I am cautioning you or suggesting you, don't start directly. First categorize them under the proper categories, then go on adding them. That is the easiest way of solving such problems. Let us go to next problem. The factory is making LED bulbs in batches of 1000. DMC is given as 1000 rupees for 1000 pieces or 16,000 rupees. Direct labor cost is given as 20,000. Factory on cost is nothing but factory overheads or factory expenses. They are all the same terminologies. The three different terminologies meaning the same thing. Is 35% of the material and labor cost. Overhead charges are 20% of the factory cost. If the management wants to make a profit of 20% on the cost, determine the selling price. Okay, let us see. Same procedure. First, calculate the prime cost. 16,000 plus 20,000, that is equal to 36,000. Next comes the factory cost. Factory cost is prime cost plus factory overheads. Here what they have given, the factory overheads as 35% of the material and labor cost. So 35% of the material and labor cost add up to 36,000. So 35% of 36,000 is 12,600. So totally it would be 48,600. Next, other overhead charges are 20% of the factory cost. So add that to 48,600. So that comes out to be 9,720 and 5, that is 58,320. Selling overheads are not given here separately. So that will be the total cost. So office cost will be the total cost or the gross cost, that is nothing but 58,320. To this you have to add 20%. That is because that is the 20% of the gross cost. See here, in the earlier problem it was 20% of the profit. Here it is 20% of the cost. So it could be anything. So you need to be a bit careful here, whether the profit is given in terms of the cost or profit is given in terms of the selling price, and accordingly you have to make the changes. And finally it comes out to be 69,984 rupees. For how many LED bulbs? For 1000 LED bulbs. So per bulb it is 69,984 divided by 1000, which is 69.98 rupees or approximately 70 rupees per bulb. So this is how normally the problems in costing comes, and very simple problems, and I don't expect you to lose even 1 mark in this section. You have to you can solve all these problems very easily. Simple arithmetic will help you to solve these problems. Thank you.